Hello, this is Mike of Nearly Enough Dice, and this is the Kerbal Space Program. Right, now, situation. Transfer stage, rocket fuel, rocket. Big tug, RCS, mostly RCS jets, but I do have these monoprop engines that I've never actually used. And the Pallas 6 lander, which is currently empty of fuel. Even the spare fuel tank that I accidentally made the F200, FLT200, which is in there, and it was only there by accident, and is actually the cause of a lot of problems with the Pallas series of landers. That is no fuel, so it's currently just a big lump. Now, I have set up a maneuver node somewhere, which I'm approaching in about a minute. Excuse me. And I really wasn't going to show you this bit because I didn't think it was going to be all that interesting. Because basically, what I'm now doing, I'm just trying to, get myself to the Pallas, the Athena station. My apologies, and dock there and grab the science off the Pallas lander and tum-tum. But there is a question that I've had pretty much ever since I attached the tug to this slightly Frankensteinian entity here. Flight engineer tells me that I have 1319 meters per second delta V. I don't know, or didn't know, to be perfectly honest. I did not know how much of that was this and how much was the monoprop. I did not know if it was counting the monoprop engines, and it turns out that it is, which is just the slightest bit irritating. So I'm just going to chuck this into its own stage. Right, so those are the engines to do with the lander. So I'm going to chuck them into their own stage. Can I do this? I'm going to move that stage up above everything else because I really don't want to use it. So now the last thing I've got is I've got those engines, and yeah, those engines and those engines. So I'm going to chuck each of those. Well, I don't really. I'm going to chuck those into their own state because those are the engines pointing the same way as this one's pointing. Now I'm trying to work out how they're going to work. I'm wondering if they're going to work with this back bit attached, because up here I had the problem that when these engines went, you can't really see it because it's all wrong time of day, that they didn't produce me any thrust at all, and I suspect it's because they were just straight up hitting the ship. And I'm wondering if the same problem is going to occur here. So I'm just going to... Right, so these are now all active. I was going to grab this. This is one of the few times that my Calc SP program has actually been important, because there's actually multiple engines to play with. Current ship, max thrust. Right. You know, sod it. I'm just going to go for it. I'd actually run out of time. I really needed to work out the burn time, like when exactly I should have started, and so I'm slightly behind, and as you can see, I've run out of fuel now for that back bit. Bah! I did not need that. Well, I'm going to give this up as a bad job. And now I've got a wacky orbit that is completely useless. That could have gone better. Okay, so what I want is to do this on the ascending node, or the descending node, so I'll grab the other one. What I am going to do... Ooh, that was entertaining. I wonder what happened there. What I am going to do is I'm going to... work out what the heck my parameters is. That's right there. There we go. Now I want to. Technically, I want to run my circ from pv.script, but it has this weird problem. Object reference sent to an instance of an object. Right. So it's actually not been able to not been able to set the thing correctly, because it gets an error message which is actually not a genuine error message, or at least the error message comes when I try and set the ETA. Basically the time, how much time in the future is the node, and it errors out, but it sets the amount of time the node is ahead of time correctly. So I'm a bit confused by that. I don't quite understand what its problem is. So it fails, and any scripts that are running fail. So it gives an error, but it actually does the thing I want it to do. So I'm not quite sure how much of an error is actually being generated. What I'm trying to do here is make a node such that I'm going to be paralleling the Athena station as much as possible. This might not be the time to bother with it, actually. But I've got delta V to spare, it turns out. However, I think I'm still I still have the problem with the pointing the wrong way KOS bug, so I don't think I'm going to be able to do the thing I would like to do, which is run my Xnode program. So I'm going to have to do it manually. Oh, woe is me. What am I doing? Next node delta V mag. What did I call burn throttle? Right, so it's saying that I should run for 1 and a bit seconds at 75% throttle. that's going to be a pain in the everything to actually do manually. So I'm not going to bother. I'm just going to. But the main thing is I've got an approximation for how long away I should start my burn. What's really wacky is that distance looks really quite large until I get out here, and then it's so small I actually can't tell the difference. Yeah. So I'm going to have to go around a few times, which might mean that I want to speed up at certain points, because this is going to get very tedious. The only interesting bit is the turning out that most of my displayed delta V was in fact not what I thought it was. I'm about to do something possibly foolish. I'm going to 3. Could I just go for that? 1.3 clicks. That's going to be 1.0, 1.1. So if I go back a bit, why don't I just take that 1.1, 1.3? So somewhere in there. 1.2. What? Now you're just being silly. 1.5. You're making up numbers now. Because I know 1.0 and suddenly I don't get it anymore. 1.3. 1.3. 1.3. 1.3. Well, don't get it wrong. I'll take 1.3, but it lied and said I had a 1.0. Well, I was going to do extra fiddling, and then do it the sensible way of wait, what just happened? Why did I just get a complete change? I must have hit one of these things. That was irritating. I thought I had a good Right, separation 0.7, not touching it. So I was going to do make sure I'm not touching that thing. I was going to do the sensible thing, which is try and get my orbits as close to the Athena's as possible. Well, basically I wanted to be exactly parallel, so I get on the same inclination, and then I'm slightly outside so that I will catch up with it. But if I'm gonna, if the thing is giving me a 0.7 separation with a bit of fiddling, well, I'm just going to take that. So that's about a minute away. I'm going to recalculate it, and then right. So that's about 1 and a bit seconds at full burn. So if I go about 5 seconds on the other side and just use the smallest amount of throttle in the shift and control, that should be okay. Because I want to be fairly precise on this one. And then I dock with Athena, and then I decide what to do from there. I'd have liked to put some more fuel into Athena, but that's clearly not going to happen. And then I need to decide. I mean, I have some various options, like do I want to grab Pallas 8 and do some actual landings and then hit Athena? Or do I just want to take Athena home? These are the questions we ask ourselves. And I really do want to. I think I do want to take Athena home, and I think now's about the time to do it. Because with the 1.0 coming up, I don't know what's going to happen. Yeah. Let's make sure I'm on the maneuver node at all times. Right, let's call that 0.8 kilometers. That will do me. Yeah, one of these. I'll give it 30 seconds. Add alarms. Just make sure I'm not going to smash into the ground. I shouldn't do. Because I was on the outside coming in, but I do go slightly underneath the orbit, but I'm still quite high up at that point, so that's fine. That can't be right. I must have done the thing where I... Right, where are we? Yeah, I must have done the stupid thing where I put the amount of seconds into the... yeah. Must be one of them. How close will be there? We're quite far away. 11 kilometers. Still, separation's changed to about 1 kilometer, but I'll take that. So I go quite high up above their orbit at this point, but that doesn't matter. Right, so approaching, getting there very close. And you can see everything kind of joining up together, you know, the Pallas grasshopper and all that kind of stuff. So we'll point ourselves to target retrograde. And at this point, still going down. Well, I'm gonna I'm gonna do it now anyway. Well, maybe it's really when that starts, when the rate at which it's getting the distance is going down. When that rate stops going down, that's really when I want to start Stopping the distance. But I'm going to do it now. Right. Tons of delta V, which is nice, but it's all monoprop, so I don't know if that's good. Okay, so I'm certainly going slowly enough that it's having troubles deciding which way to point, and that's actually very common. So we'll just see if we can't point at the target. Oi, oi, oi. Point retrograde. Quite a lot of effort and learning a lot of things to get to this point. Whether I will actually learn from the things that I've learned, whether I'll actually probably take those lessons on board is another question entirely, of course. I'm very glad to put those engines on. I vaguely regret not putting the action groups on. I think I forgot to do that with this version of Big Tug, I think. But I'm very glad I put those engines on, because otherwise I think it would have been a pain in the bottoms to get where I want to be. So again, everything's in the dark, because it always is. So we've got tons of electric charge is what I'm worried about at the minute. Monoprop not so much, because I've got the idea of what's going on there with the delta V. That's all brilliant and lovely. So I've got lots of monoprop. But electrical power is one of the things you can just run out of at really annoying times. Now I think I'm actually controlling it from the way this thing thinks is forward, which is good. No, I'm pointing the wrong way entirely, in fact. Well, eventually I'm going to want to start controlling from here, because that's where I'm going to dock. I don't know what I'm going to do with Pallas 6, actually. I'm probably just going to have to leave it in orbit and hope I can get back to it later. My cunning plan of bringing an entire orange tanker worth of fuel is kind of being overtaken by events. The fact that 1.0 is coming around very, very closely. With that thought that maybe I'm gonna just take Athena home instead. Don't know whether Athena's got enough oomph in it. So I'm just gonna position the camera so I'm looking down the long axis, or looking actually so I can see the long axis. Because that's going to give you the best indication of when I want to start cutting the speed. Nice. Okay, put that as a target. That's as good a target as any, I reckon. Right, which way? So that's... In fact, what I want to do is I want to now control from here, which as you can see just flips everything. And that's vaguely... that's good. Ah, okay, I may have to re-choose the docking port. Now I'm going to go over to Athena and make sure the SAS is on, which it does appear to be, so that's fine. And I have a sneaking suspicion that I want to deactivate all these engines because they're now pointing back the way, and I'm now... well, actually, what I should do is I should go to RCS and do everything via RCS at this point, I think. Yes. Trying to work out which way Athena is now. So I wonder if have I lost? No, I haven't lost that docking port. There we go. So I want to go slightly above. I'm going to aim to slightly above that docking port. But now I might as well just go straight to this thing. And now docking. Still not my favourite thing, but being able to do it with the docking alignment indicator is just so amazing. Right, now allegedly I'm all lined up. But obviously little tiny differences in alignment will become more and more exaggerated as I get closer. So, can't quite exactly relax. Feel it speeding up time. Wow, this is all quite nice. A little bit of adjustment needed. I'm not doing this with the caps lock on for fine maneuvering, which perhaps I ought to, but I just find that to be slightly irritating. The way it works doesn't quite work for me. Come on, you can do it, 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 you can do it! There's a question I forgot to ask. I forgot when I was looking at Athena, when I popped over to Athena. I should have checked to see how much delta V it had. Not sure all the panels are out that can be out on this. Right, you can go away. You can go away. Oh, I'm not sure where the camera is trying to point here. Let's go to orbital. What? Why is the ladder coming out? Right, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? Okay, there we go. Alright, all the panels that can be out are out. That's cool. And the ladder, for some strange reason, is as well. No idea what that would be. Okay, so what I'm going to do is next time I'm going to grab science from the lander, and then I am going to try and work out how much delta V Athena has on its own, and thus can I get home with Athena. There are actually things I can do, because I actually have a refueling station in Kerbin orbit with a fairly big tank full of fuel, so I might be able to use that if I'm because I'm worried about, do I have enough parachutes? Am I going to want to use the boosters to slow my descent? So I'd quite like to have a proper amount of fuel in those side boosters just in case. I still have the problem with that, but I'm just going to cut with it. I mean, almost certainly I'm going to splash down anyway, so it just almost doesn't matter. So that's going to be next time. So, well, the science is going to be next time. Athena is going to be a long project, I think. So thanks very much for watching. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying these videos. Share them with others if you would wish to inflict me upon them. You can find Nearly Enough Dice, which is our role-playing game themed podcast and blog, on nearlyenoughdice.com, but also on Twitter and Facebook. And until next time, reach for the stars.